I want you to picture something for a second. Imagine waking up in a hotel room. It's pitch black. You reach for your phone, the screen lights up your face, and your first instinct isn't to check the time, it's to check a location. Because you honestly don't know which country you're in.
Wow. That sounds, yeah, disorienting.
It sounds terrifying to me. But here's the thing, the room is perfect. Crisp white sheets, complete silence, premium amenities on the nightstand. But it feels exactly like the room you were in yesterday and the day before that, even though those rooms were in different hemispheres. Your life has become this endless loop of airport lounges, platinum status boarding passes, and meetings that just blur into one high-speed tunnel.
You're describing a very specific kind of modern success. For a lot of people, that lifestyle, the global citizen, the high flyer, that's the dream. That is making it.
Exactly. And that is why we are here today. We are unpacking a source that takes a sledgehammer to that dream. We're doing a deep dive into a really beautiful, heavy reflective essay by Toronata Tambun called The Fast Life and the Quiet Truth. And I have to say, when I first started reading this, I thought I was getting a story about corporate burnout. I work too hard, now I do yoga.
Right, the standard "I quit my job to find myself" narrative.
But this isn't that.
No, it's not. It's much more of a philosophical investigation. Tambit isn't just complaining about being tired. He's dissecting what he calls the modern trap. He poses this incredible question that really anchors the whole piece. If we have inherited the brain of a fighter, a caveman, but we've built the tools of a god, how do we find peace?
It's the mismatch between our biology and our technology.
Precisely. We have calendars that tell us to rush and biology that tells us to compete, and the result is this state where efficiency actually becomes a form of chaos.
So let's start where he starts, not in the boardroom, but at the airport. Because for Tambun, the airport wasn't just a place he went to catch a plane, it was his ecosystem.
It was his world. He talks about his prelude to this quiet truth, which was years spent walking through Kangarang Terminal 2 in Jakarta. And what struck me immediately is the nostalgia he has for this place.
Yeah, that was surprising. I usually think of airports as stressful, loud places, but he describes Terminal 2 with this intense sensory detail. He talks about the yellow light near the drop-off area, the smell of aviation fuel mixing with the damp morning air.
And he emphasizes the human scale of it. This is really important for his argument later. He says Terminal 2 was efficient, but it was compact. You could walk from the drop-off to the gate in 20 minutes. It felt proportionate to a human being. It was a place built for people to move through, not just to process cattle.
But then things changed. He moves to Singapore, and the backdrop shifts to Changi Airport and the newer terminals in Jakarta. And the vibe changes completely.
This is where the metaphor of acceleration kicks in. He describes driving along the ECP highway in Singapore. He's watching the skyline rise over the years, new skyscrapers, new lights, and he has this realization: I watched the skyline form through the taxi window and never noticed I was watching my own life accelerate too.
That line really stuck with me. It's like he was a passenger in his own existence. The city is getting taller, the cars are getting faster, and he's just being pulled along by the current.
And the terminals themselves changed. When Jakarta moved to Terminal 3, he says that human scare vanished. He calls the new terminal a synthetic showroom.
Synthetic showroom.
Sure.
That's a harsh way to describe an airport.
But think about it. In these massive, modern glass and steel terminals, everything feels performative. The floors are too shiny, the ceilings are too high. He says the world started to feel like one giant airport lounge, efficient, sterile, and strangely empty.
And if the world is a showroom, you have to dress the part, right? You can't walk around a showroom in sweatpants.
Exactly. This is where he gets into the costume of success. To fit into this synthetic world, he developed what he calls compulsions.
What kind of compulsions?
Well, take his shoes, for example. He didn't just buy nice shoes. He bought Zigna shoes. But not just one pair.
Yeah.
He bought them in 4 different colors.
4 colors of the same shoe.
4 colors. And Paul and Shark shirts, perfectly folded in his luggage, noise-canceling headsets, all the latest travel gadgets.
It sounds like he was armoring himself.
He was. He admits later that these weren't tools for his job. They were compulsions bought in vain. He was buying things to prove he existed. If I have the platinum status, if I have the Zigna shoes, then I must be important.
It's validation. He actually mentions how it felt when the airline staff would greet him by name.
He calls that fake warmth. But at the time, he craved it. He says, the fake warmth at the boarding gate when the staff called my name made me feel important, as if recognition were proof of existence.
That is just tragic. I mean, we've all felt a little spark when someone treats us like a VIP, but to rely on that as proof that you exist, that's a deep level of hollowness.
It is. It's noise disguised as status.
Yeah.
But this facade, this high-speed, well-dressed, platinum status life, eventually cracks. And it doesn't happen in a dramatic boardroom explosion.
Mhm.
It happens in a very small, quiet moment.
This is the Cyprus incident.
Right. So picture this. He's flown into Cyprus, he's standing at immigration, he's tired, and the officer calls him out of line.
And immediately your stomach drops, right? I know mine would. You think, what did I do? Is my visa wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The panic of the high performer. He thinks he's in trouble, but the officer just looks at his passport, smiles, and wishes him a happy birthday.
Wait, it was his birthday.
It was his birthday, and he had absolutely no idea.
He forgot his own birthday.
Completely. He's standing there, a man who has flown to 52 countries in 26 years, wearing his Zigna shoes, holding his platinum status, and he doesn't even know what day it is in his own life.
That is the moment the movie record scratches. That is, I mean, how disconnected do you have to be to lose track of the day you were born?
Disconnected enough that your body starts to revolt.
Yeah.
He talks about the physical toll this took. He says his sleep rhythm is prominently broken. He lives in GMT +7, that's Jakarta time, but his body thinks it's +1.
And the scariest part for me was what he said about sleeping on planes. He says, my brain trusts motion more than quiet.
That is profound and terrifying. It suggests that stillness had become dangerous to him. If he stopped moving, if the engine noise stopped, he'd have to confront the silence. And the silence was where the emptiness lived.
So this is the breaking point. But he doesn't just say, I was tired. He pivots into this really interesting historical and philosophical breakdown. He starts comparing civilizations.
He does. He distinguishes between what he calls pre-industrial and industrial civilizations. And this isn't just old days good, new days bad. It's about orientation.
Hmm.
He says pre-industrial civilizations lived with the world. They measured time in generations. When they built something or made a decision, the primary question was, what is good?
For the tribe, for the land, for the future.
Exactly. What is good for the future?
Okay. And us, the industrial civilization.
We live from the world. We view the world as a resource to be extracted. We measure time in quarters Q1, Q2, and the central question shifts from what is good to what sells.
He uses a really specific example to illustrate the living with concept, the Tata Samba houses in Benin.
Yes, these are fascinating. The Tata Samba people build these fortress-like homes. They are designed to protect the family, but they are built entirely from the earth, in harmony with the landscape. They last for centuries. They don't destroy the source of their life to build the shelter.
Contrast that with a modern skyscraper or a condo that's designed to last maybe 30 or 40 years before it needs major repairs.
Or that is built by tearing down everything natural around it. It's the difference between alignment and expansion.
But hold on, I want to push back on this a little bit, because he also goes after science in this section. And frankly, without science, we don't have antibiotics, we don't have the internet, we don't have the planes he was flying on. Is he really saying we should go back to mud huts?
No, and that's a crucial distinction. He acknowledges that science saves lives. He's not anti-progress. But his argument is that we've made a mistake by relying only on science as our source of truth.
How so?
Well, he argues that science focuses on the mechanism, the how. How does the cell divide? How do we make the jet engine faster? How do we optimize the supply chain? But science is silent on the why. It removed reverence.
He mentions there are 6 paths to knowledge, right?
Correct. He lists science, religion, culture, tradition, philosophy, and art. His point is that a healthy society uses all of them. But we basically discarded 5 of them and put all our chips on science.
So we have a very precise, very fast world, but we don't know what it's for.
Exactly. Think about art or tradition. Those paths answer questions like, who are we? And how should we treat our neighbor? Science can't answer those, so we end up knowing the mechanism of survival, but we've lost the meaning of life.
That leads to this concept of enough. I think this was the hardest part for me to wrap my head around, because in our world, enough usually just means I can't afford anymore.
Right. But for Tambun, enough isn't a limit, it's a feeling. He says enough is a feeling, whereas the modern system only understands metrics.
What does that mean, practically?
Well, you cannot measure enough on a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet is designed for more. More growth, higher margins, faster turnaround. If you ask a spreadsheet, is this enough? The answer is always no, you could have 10% more. But the human soul operates on a different algorithm. belonging, continuity, peace. When you try to answer a soul question with a spreadsheet answer, you get burnout. You get that airport lounge emptiness.
So if we know this, if we know deep down that the spreadsheet isn't making us happy, and that chasing the next promotion leaves us feeling empty, why do we keep doing it? Why are we all running this race?
Tambun argues it's hardwired into us. It's biology. We are caught in what we might call the alpha trap.
The alpha trap. Is this the fighter brain coming back into play?
It is. He talks about the alpha impulse driven by serotonin, the desire for dominance and hierarchy. From an evolutionary standpoint, this was brilliant. It was designed for survival. It told the tribe who should hunt the tiger and who should guard the cave.
Right. It was useful when the threat was a literal tiger outside the cave.
Exactly. The threat was external. But now, we've built a remarkably safe world. Generally speaking, there are no tigers waiting to eat us. So where does that aggression, that drive to dominate go?
It has to go somewhere.
It turns inside. It goes into the workplace, the timeline, the social media feed. We aren't fighting predators anymore. We're fighting our neighbors for recognition.
That puts a whole new spin on office politics. We're treating our coworker like a saber-toothed tiger because our brain needs a conflict to resolve.
And that's the mismatch. He says, biology says fight. Conscience says stop. We have this ancient chemical drive to be the top dog, but our moral brain, the part that developed later, the part that craves community and peace, is screaming at us to slow down.
He also frames greed in a way I hadn't thought of before. He says greed isn't always about money. Sometimes it's just the fear of being ordinary.
That resonates, doesn't it? He sees it in universities and churches everywhere. This anxiety that if I'm not special, if I'm not seen, if I don't have the title, then I don't matter. It's a survival instinct gone wrong.
It reminds me of social media. The fear of being ordinary is basically the business model of Instagram.
Completely. And Tambun brings up the Harvard Happiness Study here, the longest study on human happiness ever conducted.
And the results were pretty clear, right?
Crystal clear. Only 3 things truly matter for a happy life: relationships, the depth of those relationships, and health. That's it.
Not the Zigna shoes, not the platinum status.
No. But Tambun observes that most people, and especially the young people he sees, the students, are actively trading those 3 things for ghosts.
Ghosts.
He calls titles and validation ghosts. He says society has taught young people how to climb, but not why to live. They're chasing things that vanish the moment you catch them.
That is heartbreaking. It's like we're training people to be excellent at a game that isn't worth playing.
He asks, why do people still study, still marry, still compete, when none of it seems to answer the human longing? It's because we've replaced the why with the how. We are experts in mechanics and novices in meaning.
So let's pivot. How do we get out of the trap? Tambun has stepped off the treadmill. He's no longer waking up in 4 countries a week. What is his life now? What is the quiet truth?
He describes a shift from expansion, getting bigger, faster, more, to alignment. He says he no longer chases meaning. He waits for it.
I wait for it. That sounds, well, honestly, it sounds a bit passive, like he's just sitting on a porch doing nothing.
I don't think it's passive at all. I think it's extremely active internal work. He talks about silence. But he clarifies, silence isn't just keeping your mouth shut. And it's not the silence of exhaustion, where you're just too tired to speak.
So what is it?
It's the ability to listen. It's the ability to think before speaking. It's a deliberate pause in the mechanism.
He gives some advice to his students. He calls them honorable co-learners, which I love. And one of the things he brings up is the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yes, the Dunning-Kruger trap.
Usually we use that to make fun of people who think they're smart when they aren't.
Right. But Tambun uses it more philosophically.
Yeah.
Dunning-Kruger basically shows that people with very little knowledge often have very high confidence. They're loud. They think they know everything.
The Mount Stupid Peak.
Exactly. But as you learn more, as you gain true expertise, your confidence dips because you realize how complex things actually are.
Yeah.
You become humble. Tambun says, the more you know, the quieter you become.
Depth doesn't shout.
Depth doesn't shout. Think about the smartest, wisest people you know. They are rarely the loudest person in the room. They are the ones listening. So silence isn't emptiness. Silence is a sign of depth.
He also tells them to do real work with their hands.
Yes, to feel the world push back. There's a humility in physical labor that you don't get from a PowerPoint deck. When you build a table or plant a garden, you can't spin the result. It either works or it doesn't. It grounds you in reality.
And he urges them. If you succeed, if you do escape the trap, Don't just accumulate luxury. Help others find their rhythm, not just their wealth, but their rhythm.
Because, as he notes, the world doesn't need more speed. He references conflicts like the one in Sudan. He says humans are still fighting as if survival demands someone else's loss. But the truth is, we have enough. We just don't feel it.
Enough is not a metric, it is a feeling.
Exactly.
There is one last image he uses that I think brings this all home. He talks about his definition of success now. He says he just wants to stay somewhere long enough to belong to the air.
Belonging to the air. It's such a beautiful, poetic phrase.
What does that actually mean to you?
To me, it's the direct opposite of the airport lounge. In an airport lounge, you belong to no one. You are transient. You are just passing through. The air in an airport is conditioned, recycled, synthetic.
You're nowhere.
You're nowhere. But to belong to the air implies rooting yourself. It means standing in one place long enough that the environment recognizes you. It means breathing the real air, not the conditioned air. It's about presence. It's about saying, I am here right now, and that is enough.
It's a powerful call to action, but a quiet one. Stop counting. Stop rushing. Start listening.
And recognize that the biology driving you to compete, that voice telling you to buy the shoes and post the photo, is outdated software. You have a choice. You can listen to the biology that says fight, or you can listen to the conscience that says stop.
So here's where we leave you today. Tambun's essay is a mirror. It asks us to look at our own compulsions, our own versions of the Zignishues, our own obsession with busyness as a status symbol.
And it challenges us to ask, are we winning or are we just moving faster?
Here's a final thought to take with you, something that stems from this discussion but maybe pushes us up further. We are obsessed with AI right now. We are obsessed with faster processors, with technology that can do 1 billion calculations a second. But if science can split the atom and map the genome, but it cannot teach us how to sit in a room alone and be at peace. Maybe the most advanced technology we need right now isn't a microchip. Maybe the ultimate upgrade is simply the ability to stop.
The ultimate upgrade is silence.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll catch you next time.